Here's the question that's dividing royal watchers around the world. Is Prince Harry's relentless pursuit of legal justice the very thing preventing him from finding peace with his own family? Royal experts are now saying something remarkable. They're claiming that Harry's legal issues aren't just a symptom of the breakdown with King Charles, they're the primary cause. And more importantly, ending these battles could actually pave the way for reconciliation. But here's where it gets complicated. Harry just won part of his security case. His legal teams are celebrating victories. So why would he walk away now? And even if he did, would it matter? Would Charles welcome him back? Would William ever forgive him? Because here's what nobody's talking about. While Harry was spending 9 weeks in court, his family literally fled to Scotland. When he finally got his security reinstated, did they rush to see him? Did invitations start flowing? No. The silence has been deafening, so we need to ask the hard question, is this actually Harry's last chance at reconciliation? Or have we already crossed the point of no return? Today we're going deep into this question. We'll examine what royal experts are really saying about these legal battles. We'll look at whether Harry's crusade is justified or self-destructive, and we'll analyse whether ending his court fights would actually change anything, or if the damage is already permanent. Because the clock is ticking, Charles isn't getting younger, the coronation happened without real reconciliation, and every court filing, every legal victory, every public statement seems to push the family further apart. Let's get into it. The expert consensus: legal battles as the primary cause. So let's start with what's being said behind palace walls and in royal circles, because the consensus is becoming clear and it's not what Harry supporters want to hear. Multiple royal experts are now going on record saying that Harry's legal issues are the primary cause of the breakdown with King Charles, not the secondary issue, not a symptom, the cause. Now think about that for a moment. We've heard about the Oprah interview, we've heard about the Netflix documentary, we've heard about Spare. All of these things damaged relationships. But according to those who know the situation, it's the ongoing legal battles that have made reconciliation virtually impossible. Why? Let's break this down. First, there's the institutional threat. Harry isn't just suing random tabloids anymore. He's taking on British institutions. He's challenging government decisions. He's questioning the entire security apparatus that protects the royal family. From Charles's perspective, his son is effectively attacking the system that Charles has spent his entire life serving and now leads. Imagine being in Charles's position. Your son is in court arguing that the British government is incompetent, that security decisions are politically motivated, that the entire establishment is corrupt. How do you reconcile with someone who's actively trying to dismantle or discredit the institutions you represent? Second, there's the public nature of it all. Every court case means more revelations. More private details become public. More family conversations get leaked or referenced. And Charles is reportedly furious that private family discussions keep ending up in court documents. There's no trust anymore because anything said could become evidence. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams put it bluntly, the legal battles create an environment where reconciliation is impossible. Every case is another betrayal, another public airing of grievances, another reason for the family to keep their distance. And here's what's particularly painful for Charles. Sources close to the king say he actually wants a relationship with Harry. He wants to know his grandchildren. He misses his son. But how can he reach out when Harry might be deposing witnesses or filing new lawsuits at any moment? The legal warfare makes normal family interaction impossible. Third, there's the financial and emotional drain on everyone involved. These aren't quick cases. Harry's main legal battles have been going on for years. The security case alone has been through multiple hearings, appeals and reviews. Each one requires palace lawyers to respond. Each one requires coordination with government officials. Each one creates more stress and more division. And it's not just the palace that's exhausted. Royal commentators note that William is particularly frustrated by the ongoing legal drama. He sees it as Harry being selfish and destructive. Every time there's progress toward calm, another court date appears on the calendar. But here's where expert opinion gets really interesting. They're saying that ending these legal battles could actually pave the way for reconciliation, not guarantee it, not make it easy, but create the possibility where currently none exists. The theory is simple. Without active litigation, the temperature could cool. Private conversations could happen without fear of courtroom disclosure. Charles could reach out without worrying about being contradicted in a legal filing next month. The family could attempt to rebuild trust in private, away from judges and journalists. But, and this is crucial, experts also warn that the window is closing. Charles is 76 years old. He's dealing with his own health concerns. He has a kingdom to run. The coronation has come and gone. If reconciliation doesn't happen soon, it might not happen at all. Royal historian Hugo Vickers said something particularly striking. Every court case is another nail in the coffin of family relationships. Harry may win his legal battles and lose his family forever. The question is whether he realises that before it's too late. So that's the expert consensus. The legal battles aren't just making reconciliation difficult, they're making it impossible. And time is running out for Harry to choose which matters more, legal vindication or family connection. Harry's perspective, final chapter or endless crusade. Now let's flip this and look at it from Harry's perspective. Because the question everyone's asking is, could ending these court battles be Harry's final chapter, or will he keep fighting indefinitely? To understand this, we need to understand what drives Harry's legal crusade in the first place. Harry has been remarkably consistent in his messaging. He believes the British tabloid press destroyed his mother's life and contributed to her death. He believes they invaded his privacy repeatedly. He believes they hacked his phone, bribed officials, and broke laws to get stories about him. And he believes that nobody, not the police, not the government, not his own family, did anything to stop it. From Harry's viewpoint, these aren't just legal battles, they're a moral crusade. He's fighting for accountability. He's fighting to protect his wife and children from the same treatment his mother received. He's fighting to expose what he sees as systemic corruption and illegal behaviour. In court testimony, Harry has described feeling like he has a life's mission to reform the British press. He's talked about doing this not just for himself, but for all victims of press intrusion. There's a messianic quality to how he discusses these cases. So here's the problem. People on moral crusades don't usually stop halfway. They don't declare victory and go home. They keep fighting until the system changes or until they're completely exhausted. Harry has already invested years of his life into these cases. He's spent millions of pounds. He's given multiple days of court testimony, including that 9-week case we'll discuss later. He's made this central to his public identity. How does he walk away from that? His supporters argue he shouldn't. They say he's standing up to bullies, he's exposing illegal behaviour, he's protecting his family. They point to the partial victories he's won, admissions of phone hacking, settlements from newspapers, recognition that his privacy was violated. From this perspective, stopping now would mean letting the tabloids win. But there's another perspective, and it's one that Harry may be starting to recognise. The legal victories feel hollow. He won significant admissions from Mirror Group newspapers. Did it change anything in his daily life? Did it bring peace? Did it heal relationships? Number. If anything, things got worse. There are reports, unconfirmed but persistent, that Meghan is encouraging Harry to wind down the legal battles. Not because she thinks he's wrong, but because she sees what it's costing them. The stress, the money, the constant reliving of trauma, the impossibility of moving forward when you're always looking backward at what went wrong. And here's what's really telling. Harry has already dropped some cases. He abandoned a libel case against the Mail on Sunday. He withdrew from certain aspects of his broader lawsuit against associated newspapers. These weren't victories, they were strategic retreats. So he is capable of letting go. The question is whether he can let go of all of it, whether he can accept partial justice and move on, whether he can live with the fact that not everyone who wronged him will be held fully accountable. Royal commentator Richard Eden raised an important point. Harry talks about these cases as if they're about principle, but at some point you have to ask whether the principle is worth losing your family over. That's not a legal question, it's a personal one. There's also the practical reality that Harry's legal position may be weakening. His initial security case was largely unsuccessful. Yes, he won the right to bring a challenge, but the actual outcome has been limited. The government still isn't providing automatic top-level security. He's having to fight for every small adjustment. Similarly, in his broader cases against the tabloids are taking years to resolve. Even when he wins, the actual damages are often less than his legal costs. And with each case, public sympathy seems to decline. The narrative has shifted from Harry the victim to Harry the litigious prince who won't let go. So could ending these battles be his final chapter? It could be. It could be Harry finally deciding that enough is enough. that he's made his point, that he's exposed wrongdoing, that he's stood up for victims, and that now it's time to focus on building his life rather than fighting about his past. But will he actually do it? That's the billion-dollar question, because everything in Harry's recent behaviour suggests someone who believes he's right and won't back down, someone who feels he's fighting for a cause bigger than himself, someone who may not be capable of walking away even if he wanted to. And that's terrifying for anyone hoping for family reconciliation, because if Harry can't or won't end his legal crusade, then the window for healing closes completely. He'll be locked in legal warfare while his father ages, while his brother moves on with his life, while his children grow up without knowing their grandfather or cousins. The tragedy is that Harry might win every legal case and still lose everything that actually matters. The human cost, emotionally and financially draining. Let's talk about what these legal battles are actually costing. Not in terms of family relationships, we'll get to that, but in terms of money, mental health, and daily life. Because the phrase emotionally and financially draining doesn't even begin to cover it. Start with the financial cost. Harry's legal bills are estimated to be in the millions of pounds. His security case alone has gone through multiple court hearings, each requiring extensive legal preparation. His phone hacking cases involve reviewing thousands of articles, deposing witnesses, and building complex arguments about privacy law. High-level solicitors in London can charge £500 to £1,000 per hour. Barristers for major cases can charge several £1,000s per day. We're talking about cases that have been running for years. Do the math, it's staggering. Now Harry is wealthy, the inheritance from Diana, the reported £100 million Netflix deal, the book sales from Spare. He can afford these legal bills in a way most people couldn't, but even massive wealth isn't unlimited. And every pound spent on lawyers is a pound not invested in his children's future, not spent on his charitable work, not used to build the life he claims to want. There are also reports that some of Harry's financial arrangements are getting complicated. The Netflix deal requires ongoing content. The Spotify deal ended early. Book sales have slowed after the initial surge. Meanwhile, the legal bills keep coming. At what point does the financial pressure become unsustainable? But the financial cost, as huge as it is, pales compared to the emotional toll. Harry has described feeling paranoid and anxious constantly. He's testified about the trauma of reliving his mother's death. He's talked about the stress of not feeling safe, of worrying about his family's security, of feeling like the world is against him. These legal cases mean Harry can't move on. Every court date is another dive into the worst periods of his life. Every legal filing requires reviewing old tabloid articles about his mother's death, his teenage drug use, his military service, his relationships. It's like constantly picking at a wound that never heals. Mental health experts have commented that this kind of sustained legal warfare is incredibly damaging. It keeps you in a state of hypervigilance. You can't relax because there's always another hearing coming up. You can't trust anyone because anything you say might end up in court. You can't make peace with the past because you're constantly building legal cases about it. And it's not just affecting Harry, this impacts Meghan and their children as well. Archie and Lilibet are growing up with parents who are constantly stressed about legal battles. Family trips to the UK are fraught with security concerns and court schedules. Normal childhood experiences are complicated by ongoing litigation. Meghan herself has been dragged into these cases repeatedly. Her private letter to her father became evidence. Her text messages to royal aides were referenced in court. Her communications with Harry have been subject to legal scrutiny. The invasion of privacy that Harry is fighting against is, ironically, continuing through the legal process itself. Friends of the couple have leaked that the constant legal drama is straining their marriage. Not breaking it, but adding pressure that doesn't need to be there. When you're already dealing with public scrutiny, raising young children, building new careers and living in a foreign country, adding years-long legal battles into the mix is genuinely overwhelming. There's also the emotional cost of public opinion turning against you. Harry initially had significant public sympathy. Many people felt he'd been treated unfairly by the press and deserved his day in court. But as the cases have dragged on, as the legal filings have become more aggressive, as Harry has appeared increasingly angry and uncompromising, that sympathy has evaporated. Polls now show majority negative opinions of Harry in the UK. He's mocked regularly on social media. Former supporters have turned into critics. The very public he's theoretically fighting for has decided he's gone too far. That has to hurt. And here's perhaps the most emotionally draining aspect. Despite everything, nothing fundamental has changed. The tabloids still write about Harry, paparazzi still try to photograph his children, security concerns remain, family relationships are worse than ever. So what was it all for? Legal experts who have worked on similar high-profile cases talk about litigation addiction, when the process of fighting becomes more important than the outcome. You get so invested in the battle that you can't see you're destroying yourself in the process. There are genuine concerns from people who care about Harry that this is what's happening, that he's so committed to these legal fights that he can't see the damage they're causing. That victory in court has become more important than peace in his actual life. The phrase emotionally and financially draining sounds almost clinical. But what it really means is this. Harry is spending millions of pounds and years of his life fighting battles that leave him more traumatized, more isolated, and more unhappy than when he started. His children are growing up with stressed parents. His marriage is under pressure. His relationship with his birth family is destroyed. And for what? Some court victories that haven't actually improved his daily life. Some tabloid admissions that haven't changed press behaviour. Some legal precedents that matter more to lawyers than to him personally. At some point you have to ask, is it worth it? And more importantly, when does the cost become so high that continuing is simply self-destructive? The 9-week case, when family fled to Scotland. Now let's talk about the event that really crystallised how incompatible Harry's legal battles are with family reconciliation. The 9-week court case that happened while his entire family fled to Scotland. This wasn't just bad timing, it was symbolic of everything wrong with the current situation. Harry was so committed to his legal warfare that he spent 9 weeks in a London courtroom while his father, brother, and their families deliberately went as far away from him as possible. Let's set the scene. Harry's phone hacking trial against Mirror Group newspapers required him to be in London for extended periods. This wasn't just showing up for a day or two, he had to be present for testimony, cross-examination, and supporting his legal team. He was giving extensive evidence about his life, his relationships, and his experiences with the press. Meanwhile, the royal family was dealing with their own crisis situations. Charles was settling into his new role as king. William and Catherine were managing their responsibilities while raising 3 young children. There were official duties, public appearances, and the general business of being the working royal family. And what did they do when Harry was in London for 9 weeks? They went to Scotland. The entire family decamped to Balmoral and other Scottish properties. Charles was there. William, Catherine, and the children were there. Even extended family members seemed to coordinate their schedules to be elsewhere. The message couldn't have been clearer. We don't want to see you. We're not going to accidentally run into you. We're removing ourselves entirely from the situation. Think about how calculated that is. London to Balmoral is roughly 500 miles. They could have stayed in Windsor. They could have been at Clarence House. But no, they went to the furthest corner of the kingdom. They put maximum physical distance between themselves and Harry. Royal sources let it be known that this wasn't coincidental. It was a deliberate decision. The family felt that as long as Harry was actively engaged in legal warfare against British institutions and newspapers, they couldn't risk any interaction with him. Anything said might end up in court. Any meeting might be misrepresented in testimony. The safest thing was complete avoidance. Now imagine being Harry in that situation. You're in court day after day, reliving traumatic experiences, describing how the press destroyed your life and your family didn't protect you, and while you're doing this, your actual family is literally fleeing from you. They're treating you like you're toxic, like you're the threat. Some of Harry's testimony during this period was particularly revealing. He talked about feeling abandoned by his family, about how they chose to protect the institution rather than him, about how they sided with the press rather than supporting his fight for justice. The bitterness was palpable. But here's what Harry seemingly couldn't or wouldn't acknowledge. His family was avoiding him because of his choices. Not because they're evil, not because they're controlled by evil advisors, but because Harry made being around him impossible. He created an environment where any interaction carried legal risk. The 9-week separation was also devastating for any chance of rebuilding relationships with William's children. George, Charlotte, and Louis were in Scotland with their parents. They could have spent time with their uncle. Instead, they were kept far away. They're growing up with no real relationship with Harry, and this extended period of deliberate separation reinforced that divide. Similarly, Charles had no contact with his grandchildren Archie and Lilibet during this time. Harry was focused on his legal case. Meghan remained in California with the children. Charles was in Scotland running the country. The practical reality of Harry's legal obsession meant that normal grandparent-grandchild relationships became impossible. Royal commentators noted at the time that this 9-week period felt like a turning point. Before this, there was still theoretical possibility of reconciliation. Maybe they'd work it out eventually. Maybe time would heal wounds. But 9 weeks of deliberate, total avoidance? That's not temporary distance. That's establishing a permanent separation. What made it worse was that Harry was winning his case. The judge ultimately ruled that phone hacking had occurred. Harry was awarded damages. By his own metrics, it was a success. But what did he actually gain? He proved he was right about the tabloids, and lost any remaining connection to his family in the process. There's a tragic irony here. Harry went to court claiming that the press had destroyed his relationship with his family. He wanted accountability for how tabloid intrusion had poisoned family dynamics. But the very act of seeking that accountability destroyed what was left of those relationships more completely than the tabloids ever did. The Scottish exile also revealed something else. Harry's presence had become actively disruptive to royal operations. When he's around, everyone is on edge. Will he record conversations? Will he reference private discussions in his next court filing? Will he drop more revelations in testimony? The uncertainty is paralysing. So the solution became, just avoid him entirely. And here's the kicker, that 9-week case ended over a year ago. Harry won. He got his vindication. He proved phone hacking occurred. So where's the reconciliation? Where's the family healing that was supposedly being prevented by the legal uncertainty? It hasn't happened. Because the legal battles aren't actually the problem, they're the symptom. The problem is that Harry wants things from his family that they can't or won't give him. He wants them to apologise for not protecting him. He wants them to admit institutional failings. He wants them to side with him against the establishment. And they won't do any of that because they are the establishment. The 9 weeks when family fled to Scotland showed everyone the truth. Harry has to choose between his legal crusade and his family. He can't have both. And so far, he keeps choosing the crusade. The security paradox, restored but still avoided. Here's where things get really complex, and honestly, kind of heartbreaking. Harry fought for years to get his security reinstated when visiting the UK. He argued passionately that he needed protection for himself and his family. He went through multiple court cases. He spent millions on legal fees. And recently, he's achieved partial success. His security situation has improved. So you'd think this would be the breakthrough moment, right? The family's concerns about his safety would be addressed. He could visit more easily. Reconciliation could begin. Except that's not what happened. His security was restored, but his family is still avoiding him completely. This is the security paradox, and it reveals something uncomfortable about the situation. The security issue was never really the main problem. It was a convenient excuse for both sides, but the real issues go much deeper. Let's break down what actually happened with Harry's security. Initially, when he stepped back from royal duties, his automatic Metropolitan Police protection was removed. The logic was simple. If you're not a working royal, you don't get taxpayer-funded security. Makes sense from a government policy perspective, even if it feels harsh personally. Harry challenged this decision through multiple legal avenues. He argued that his security needs were different from ordinary private citizens because of his royal status and public profile. He said he should be able to pay for police protection even if the government wouldn't provide it automatically. He claimed the removal of security was punishment for stepping back from royal duties. The courts have gone back and forth. Some rulings favoured Harry, some didn't. But recently, there have been adjustments to his security arrangements when he visits the UK. He's getting more protection than immediately after Megxit, but less than when he was a working royal. It's a compromise position. According to Harry's own arguments, this should solve the problem. He can visit the UK safely. He can bring Meghan and the children without excessive worry. The security concerns that supposedly prevented family visits are now addressed. So why isn't he showing up for family events? Why aren't there reports of private meetings with Charles? Why has nothing changed? Because the security issue was always a red herring. It was the most reasonable disagreement, the one that made Harry look justified and the royal family look cold. They won't even protect my children is a sympathetic position. but it masked the deeper, unsolvable problems. The real issue is trust. Charles and William don't trust Harry anymore. Not because of security arrangements, but because everything in their relationship has become litigation fodder or public revelation. They can't have a private conversation without worrying it'll end up in a court document. They can't show emotion without it being used as evidence of something in Harry's next book or interview. Security was actually working as a convenient barrier for everyone. Harry could say, "I'd visit, but it's not safe." The family could say, "We'd see Harry, but he won't come because of security concerns." Nobody had to confront the deeper truth. They don't really want to see each other because the wounds are too deep and the positions too entrenched. Now that security is partially resolved, that excuse is gone. And what do we see? Continued avoidance, which proves the point. There's also another dimension to this. The royal family has reportedly been advised by lawyers that any contact with Harry carries risks while legal cases are ongoing. Not just the cases about security, but all of them. Every interaction is potential evidence. Every conversation could be mischaracterized. The safest legal advice is no contact whatsoever. So even though security is better, the legal environment still makes reconciliation practically impossible. Harry's other ongoing cases continue to poison the well. As long as he's actively suing British institutions and newspapers with royal connections, the family's lawyers are going to recommend maximum distance. This creates a cruel paradox. Harry can't fully reconcile without ending his legal battles, but he won't end his legal battles until he gets satisfaction, including on security. But improving his security doesn't actually lead to reconciliation because the legal environment remains toxic. It's circular and seemingly unsolvable. There's also a painful personal element here. Charles reportedly wants to see his grandchildren. He's publicly expressed sadness about the distance, but he can't do it on Harry's terms, which seem to include admissions of wrongdoing, apologies, and changes to security policy. Charles won't be emotionally blackmailed into capitulation. So stalemate continues. William's position is even harder. By all accounts, he's written Harry off completely. He sees his brother as a traitor who has monetized family secrets and caused their grandmother immense stress in her final years. William has reportedly told friends that he has no intention of reconciling with Harry, possibly ever. Security arrangements are irrelevant to that position. So we have this bizarre situation where one of Harry's major legal victories, improved security when visiting the UK, has achieved nothing in terms of actual family reconciliation. It's exposed that the security debate was always somewhat performative, covering for deeper breaches of trust and loyalty. And here's the really sad part. Harry may have genuinely believed that security was the main barrier. He may have thought that if he just fought this battle and won, everything else would fall into place. That his family would welcome him back once he'd proven his point about needing protection, that demonstrating legitimate security concerns would vindicate his entire position. Instead, he's discovering that winning legal battles doesn't heal family wounds. That being right about security doesn't make his brother forgive him. That court victories are hollow when they don't bring you closer to the people you actually care about. The security paradox shows us the limits of litigation as a path to reconciliation. You can win every court case, you can prove you're right about every specific grievance, but you can't force people to love you, trust you, or want a relationship with you. Those things require completely different actions, actions that legal warfare makes impossible. The final question, is it already too late? So we arrive at the ultimate question, is this actually Harry's last chance at reconciliation, or have we already crossed the point of no return? It's the question everyone's asking, but nobody can definitively answer. But we can look at the factors that will determine whether reconciliation is even possible anymore. Let's start with the optimistic case, the scenario where reconciliation could still happen. In this version, Harry makes a conscious decision to end his legal battles, not because he's giving up or admitting defeat, but because he decides that family matters more than vindication. He doesn't have to say he was wrong. He just has to stop actively fighting. With litigation ended, the temperature could cool. Charles could reach out privately without legal risk. They could have conversations that stay private. Slowly, carefully, trust could be rebuilt. It would take years, not months, but it could happen. The optimistic case argues that blood is thicker than water, that Charles loves his son and wants a relationship, that William, and despite his anger, might eventually soften, that the cousins, George, Charlotte, Louis, Archie and Lilibet, deserve to know each other. That family ultimately finds a way. In this scenario, Harry dropping his legal crusade is the necessary first step. It won't guarantee reconciliation, but it makes it possible. Without that step, there's no chance at all. But there's also a pessimistic case, and it's honestly more convincing. In this version, the damage is already done. Too much has been said. Too many secrets have been revealed. Too much trust has been destroyed. Ending the legal battles now would be too little, too late. Consider what Harry has already done. He's accused his family of being unsupportive, cold, and complicit in press abuse. He's revealed private conversations. He's described William as hot-tempered and Charles as weak. He's accused Catherine of being unwelcoming to Meghan. He's suggested the institution is racist. He's claimed Camilla is dangerous and manipulative. You can't unring those bells. William has read Spare. He knows what Harry wrote about him. Charles has seen the Netflix documentary. They've all witnessed Harry's court testimonies describing how terrible they all are. Do you really come back from that? The pessimistic case argues that Harry fundamentally misunderstands what reconciliation requires. He seems to think he can maintain all his positions, that he was mistreated, that the family failed him, that the institution is corrupt, and still have a warm relationship with everyone. That's not how it works. Real reconciliation requires compromise, often including admitting you were wrong about some things. There's no indication Harry is capable of that kind of compromise. His entire public persona is built on being the victim who bravely spoke truth to power. To reconcile, he'd have to admit that maybe his family wasn't entirely villainous, that maybe they had legitimate concerns about his choices, that maybe his actions caused them pain too. Has Harry shown any capacity for that kind of self-reflection? Time is also working against reconciliation. Charles is 76. He's dealing with health issues. Every year that passes is a year he gets older, more set in his ways, less patient with drama. There's a real possibility that Charles dies before any reconciliation happens. Then what? Harry has to live with that forever. William is even more intractable. He's younger and can hold a grudge for decades. And multiple sources say William has essentially cut Harry off permanently. He doesn't read articles about Harry. He doesn't take Harry's calls. He's moved on with his life. Breaking through that level of determined separation seems nearly impossible, regardless of whether Harry ends his legal battles. There's also the Meghan factor. Many people close to the royal family believe Meghan is the driving force behind Harry's positions. Whether that's fair or not, it's the perception. And if the family believes that Harry will always be influenced by Meghan to maintain grievances and continue conflicts, why would they invest in reconciliation? They'll assume it's futile because Meghan won't allow real healing. Then there's public opinion. The British public has largely turned against Harry. Polls show majority negative views. If Charles or William reconciled with Harry, they'd face accusations of being weak, of rewarding bad behaviour, of prioritising family over duty. The political pressure to maintain distance is significant, but perhaps the strongest argument for too late is simply this: nothing has worked so far. The Queen's death didn't bring lasting reconciliation. The coronation was awkward and brief. Charles's reported private overtures have gone nowhere. If even the death of the family matriarch and the crowning of a new king didn't heal these wounds, what will? So is this Harry's last chance? Maybe. If he ended all legal action tomorrow, made a genuine private apology, and committed to years of quiet rebuilding, there might be a narrow path to some form of reconciliation with Charles. Not a return to closeness, but something more than the current Cold War. But that seems increasingly unlikely. Harry appears more committed to his legal crusade than ever. He's won some battles and wants to press his advantage. He's built an entire identity around being the royal who fought back. He's written books and made documentaries. He can't just walk away from all of that without it looking like surrender. And even if he did, would it work? William seems unmovable. The institution has learned to operate without Harry and doesn't need him back. Public opinion is firmly against reconciliation. Charles is aging and may not have the energy for the difficult work of rebuilding a relationship with a son who has caused so much pain. The tragic truth is that Harry's legal battles may have been the final straw, but they're not the only problem. The real issue is a fundamental incompatibility between Harry's desire for vindication and his family's commitment to institutional preservation. You can't fix that by winning or losing court cases. So to answer the question, is this Harry's last chance? Probably yes, but it's a chance he seems unlikely to take, and even if he did take it, it might already be too late. The damage may simply be too extensive, the wounds too deep, the positions too entrenched. Harry may have won some legal victories, but he's losing the war that actually matters, the one for his family's love and trust. And unlike court battles, that's not something you can appeal or relitigate. Once it's gone forever. The clock is ticking. Harry has to decide what matters more, being right or being reconciled. He may not be able to have both. And if he keeps choosing being right, he'll wake up one day to discover he's completely alone, clutching court victories that mean nothing because everyone he cares about has moved on without him. That's not justice, that's tragedy, and it's one Harry has the power to prevent if he can just find the courage to let go, but time is running out. This may truly be his last chance, and the saddest part? He probably won't take it. So there you have it. The experts are clear. Harry's legal issues are the primary cause of breakdown with Charles, and ending them could pave the way for reconciliation. But whether Harry will actually do that, and whether it would even work at this point, remains an open question. What do you think? Is reconciliation still possible? Should Harry end his legal battles for the sake of family? Or has too much damage already been done? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this analysis helpful, please like and subscribe for more royal family coverage. Thanks for watching.